Imagine a fortress filled with only orcs that Talion himself had scarred horrifically. A fortress filled with orcs that had survived their encounter with the Bright Lord, scarred permanently, mangled, but still alive. Each Uruk and Olog filled with hate and craving revenge on Talion. Well, that's exactly what this commenter has created. Emery Shai has assembled a Scars fortress. Every orc Talion has killed in a unique way, teaming up. He even says that his Overlord has the rarest scar there is in the entire game, the Stormbringer arm. Well, I'm excited to get on in there and see this unique fortress. But will I even make it all the way to the Overlord? Will I ever get to see this beautiful Stormbringer arm in person? And what kind of horrors are awaiting me? What kind of horrors are awaiting me inside this fortress? And will I even make it to the throne room to see this beautiful Stormbringer arm in person? I assemble my ragtag group of raiders, which is basically just any orc or olog that was left lying around. And I thought it would be fitting that leading my forces I have an all-black Stitch olog. I gather my lads outside in the frost. I should advance, goddammit! And we commence the raid on this very interesting Scars fort. I start off by taking out both of the siege beasts. I then dive on into the first point, and I am honestly a little bit surprised that this is the first olog I see.
Now you see strength of fortress! Now you see strength of Mordor!
It is a beautiful red-painted beast olog. I then have an interesting chat with the dragon.
You honestly think you have a chance of capturing any part of this fortress? I will try to stop laughing long enough to kill you.
Who seemingly just laughs in my face. Taking a closer look at the beast olog, he is extremely badass. Red is probably the perfect paint color. You can see he's got the patented scars across his face. But can we find cooler orcs than this in this Scars fortress? Or have we already peaked? Alpha Caragors seem to be spawning in quite a lot at this point. I wonder if they're coming from the beast olog. Maybe it was an Alpha Caragor that originally did him in, and now he has the ability to command them. There's also a Grog running around defending the first point, as well as a Drake. I dive on up to the Drake just to get out of the area, narrowly avoiding potential death. I rain fire down on them, but I realize it's most likely going to do 0 damage because this is a very high level fortress. I dive on back into the point just as my boys are beginning to arrive. I then jump aboard and tame the Grog. I have now turned every single beast against the beast olog. I dive on off and land a blow on him, but it doesn't seem to do very much damage. I then notice that there are a few orcs rising from the dead. That didn't come from me. Who the hell is doing this? Who the hell thinks they have the right to resurrect orcs apart from me? I then peer into this orc's mind, and what I see surprises me very much. Oh, what's this? Marvel Contest of Champions is a high-fidelity arcade-style fighting game, which you can play on your PC and on the go on your mobile. This game features over 350 superheroes and supervillains which you can collect from across the Marvel universe. You can scan the QR code right here or follow the link in my description to download the game now and start collecting. I've always been a massive fan of the X-Men ever since the 1992 cartoon. So whenever I installed and booted up the game for the first time, I was very much looking for these characters. I was extremely happy to get my hands on Wolverine and Deadpool early on. And honestly, one of the great parts of the game is that you get these unique fights that you'll probably never see on screen. For example, I got to command Deadpool fighting Venom. The game has more than 325 million unique players across the world. You can play on your own and collect awesome superheroes, or you can join an alliance and play with and against your friends in alliance wars. If you scan my QR code now or follow the link in my description, you will unlock the Heavy Hitters bundle, including Hercules, The Thing, Shang-Chi, and Iron Fist. You guys can claim this bundle all the way up until May 6th. So you know, I guess don't miss out, support my channel and download the game now. Okay, everyone say goodbye to the beast, Olog.
Beast is not prey. This is wrong. I defeat you. I defeat you!
Wow, with that dialogue, I really thought he was gonna get back up again, but no, he is gone. Probably the coolest of all the Scar Orcs, but let's see what else this fort has to offer. With the beast now taken care of, we're able to take the point. I try to fight the dragon before we move on, but he's just too fast for me. He's the next Olog that I definitely want to get rid of. Over at the next point, 2 of my lads are down, but I'm quickly able to get them back up. And then I narrowly avoid getting hit by the goddamn dragon again. I respond by going crazy with Helm Hammer Hands hammers. Even if these Scar Orcs are arrow-proof, they're not goddamn hammer-proof. I then begin to fight with the Black Blade, who very annoyingly counters my executions, taking off a massive chunk of my health. Then our fight is interrupted by a teleporting Spectre. Probably one of the coolest names in the game. He moves in for the kill, but I'm able to counter it in time. Built like a GameStop worker, the Spectre scares me very, very much. So much so that I'm gonna have to suck on this orc real quick until I'm interrupted by my own archer. Grom the Black Blade then collapses due to the sheer pressure of the situation. I head back to the point fully rejuvenated only to see a massacre. 4 of my orc buddies down. And when I try to get them up, I accidentally grab the Spectre. And yes, I accidentally definitely hit the recruit button. And then I accidentally hit the button to make him stay in the fight. Oops. I then quickly take the point so that I can get my lads back on their bloody feet. I take this chance before going to the next point to focus on this dragon. He has been a real pest. I freeze him up a few times until he's broken. And you know what? All of this fighting has gotten my feet a little bit sore. So the dragon very graciously offers to give me a ride to the next point. The dragon then throws me off, so I bonk him on the head and get right back on. I start trying to take out the Chosen while riding the dragon, but I don't think it's gonna work. This might be a very hard achievement to get. Also, 3 of my lads are now down, so this fight is looking a little bit dire. But despite this, I can't resist the deadly piggybacks. If I can piggyback the dragon while also taking out the Stitch or the Chosen, now that's just a great day. But sadly this doesn't happen. He throws me off, and that is when the Stitch very sadly bleeds out. To try and avoid any further casualties, I take the point. I then decide that the dragon did such a good job with these piggyback rides that he should join me in taking over this fortress.
My will is higher.
But apparently he's just not really feeling my vibe, so I take his head. I then get my 2 lads back up, and as I'm sprinting to the next point, I just see a slew of notifications. 2 of my lads down, 1 of their orcs broken, and another one very, very weak. So I immediately head in and try to take out the Chosen. Probably one of the coolest scars being the Chosen. Personally being hand-selected by Sauron to come back to life as his special Chosen one. I get my Blue Maniac back up, and then I meet another very legendary Scar Orc.
Sees you. The machine has decided that you will die. Face it, there is no stopping the machine.
I would say the machines are probably the most famous Scar Orc of them all. Whenever I was raiding some of the strongest forts on the world on Xbox, I noticed that there were many strong machine lads. And it's safe to say that's definitely true for PlayStation as well. Let me know in the comments, guys, which Scar Orc do you think is the most famous? I'd say it's probably the machine, but it also could be the beast. I mean, the beast is pretty goddamn well known as well. Once I've taken care of all the siege beasts, I try to jump down in time to save my guy, but I am not quick enough, as the Venomous very sadly bleeds out. I mean, he only was level 77, so it's not that big of a loss. I then notice that the Stitch is now level 81, which means he most likely was the one to down the Venomous. Just then, my recruited Spectre takes out the Amputator. Poor crazy guy got his arm cut off by Talion, and then decided to devote his life to amputating others. I can really see the similarities between this and one of the Batman games. In the same way that Batman makes all of his villains, so does Talion.
How does it feel to face someone who is also deathless? Neither of us can kill the other, but we inflict plenty of pain. Plenty of pain.
This dialogue has always confused me. I just don't think you're as immortal as Talion is. I mean, look at you. Clearly you've just been sewn back together a lot of times. You definitely have an expiration date. It would have been an amazing element of the game if every time you actually defeat a Stitch, he comes back with another scar. At this point I'm downed and I thought it was all over, but the Spectre goes on a tear and defends me from someone trying to finish me off. I then slice up the Metal Beater. It's always very satisfying to get a final blow on an orc like this. I then begin to focus back on the Stitch. Before the Machine Orc very blatantly steals my kill as I'm about to deliver the final blow. I then take the point. But before heading on into the inner gate, I decide to corner the machine. I was about to say let's see him come back from this one, but actually I think he definitely could come back from that. I only took 2 of his arms, and those arms were prosthetics anyway. I just cut off his prosthetics. I didn't touch his core or his brain, so don't know what the hell Talion was doing there. That machine is definitely 100% coming back. Anyway, smashing on into the inner gate, I spot some twins who are standing basically merged together. I jump on a grog to let my boys in because the walls were giving them a bit of problem. I then hit this badass looking chain execution right when some sappers go off. Honestly, the game is definitely at its best whenever you're just zipping around the battlefield hitting executions and it's just pure chaos. I am then hit by the most deadly combo in the entire game, a flamethrower along with a berserker strike to down me. But right when this happens, look who again comes to save me. The Spectre again! He sacrifices his life to save me, only for me to then get headbutted trying to help him. To try and get this situation back under control, I dominate this orc. And I recruit him over to my side. I actually completely forgot about the Flame of Wars for a second, but they are 100% one of the most famous Scar Orcs. And this one's extra cool because he's got the black paint. I get my most loyal orc, the Spectre, back up on his feet. And then I spot another piggyback victim. I then use him to weaken down his twin brother. And then when he's all out of piggybacks, I clatter a hammer directly off his dome. One of the twins, the strong, then runs off to the other point and he is then team killed by this fire archer. This is some Viltrumite level leadership here. Desertion equals execution. Arriving at the final point, I focus on the executioner because clearly he's the most dangerous.
Try to reach the inner ward.
I hit him so hard that he actually ends up retreating.
Oh, beg you!
And I get rid of him by using my Threshing Sword, one of the most cinematic ways to do it in the game. All of you guys using your Wraith Giver swords, you must be getting bored having the same execution over and over again. Get yourself a Threshing Sword now. With the final point now taken, only one orc stands between me and the throne room. And that is of course the one Scar orc that we've been missing this entire time, the Blight.
Ramparts, but you can't take all of us. You can't take me.
Lovers of disease and followers of Nurgle, these lads are made by hitting them with poison right when they're broken. The poison then festers and bubbles up in their skin, turning them into these hateful abominations. If these Urks had been canon, I could definitely see Sauron or Saruman implementing them in some sort of chemical warfare. Because I'll be honest, I don't think the Lord of the Rings universe has the Geneva Convention. And just like a zombie, I took out the Blight by firing a hammer directly into the back of his skull. The lads all begin to celebrate. We've taken the fortress. And then I head on into the throne room to meet this leader of the Scars orcs. And probably some pretty horrible bodyguards as well.
Beneath these towering walls, you shall meet your fate, brother. Cut down by dark serpents, and then raised up by those still darker.
Damn, that was a really good bit of dialogue. I only know Stormbringers that say woo woo, so that was very refreshing. Also, look at that arm! Look at that weird arm he's got. I think he's got alopecia or something going on there, I'm not quite sure. Yep, he's badass looking. Let's take a look at the bodyguards. Will they live up to the Scar's name? Yes, they do. Literal Scar artist, as well as the Watcher. It seems like he's maybe been blinded by Talion. I then see just how awesome the Scar artist is. This might be my favorite attack that any orc does. This is going to be a fun throne room. I checked the immunities on the Stormbringer. He is immune to execution, as well as every single thing that you can attach onto Elven Light. And he's also arrow-proof, so I think the only real way that I'm going to do damage is going to be from normal hits, as well as my Threshing Sword explosion. In fact, that's going to be the main thing that I use against him, because everything else is just going to bounce right off. Let me know in the comments, guys, what would someone that uses a Wraith Giver sword do against this Overlord? Considering your Elven Light and your executions will not work against him at all. So what do you really do then? I mean, you guys all know what my answer is. I can see that one of the bodyguards is a necromancer and they are just summoning in massive hordes. This leads me to try and raise a bit of an army myself. I try to thin down their numbers by using some Elven Light poison attacks, but this only leads him to resurrect more. I gotta say, having a Scar artist be a necromancer is truly badass. I then notice that my bodyguard does a number on the Watcher, and all it takes from me is one Threshing Sword hit to finish him off. And because the Watcher succumbed to a massive, scary looking explosion, this breaks the will of the Scar artist. And I think who better to help me take down this Scar throne room than the Scar artist himself. And he begins by resurrecting every single orc in this room. Just look at that. I get to work weakening him down using my Threshing Sword and then hitting him while he's on the floor. I then notice that the Watcher, being a necromancer, has brought himself back to life. Oh my word, he's back. And he does not sound too happy. But there's nothing he can do to stop me. I've charged up my threshing sword and I am laying into this Overlord.
It won't do you no good, man-filth. My brothers will take back this fort and chop you to pieces.
Oh, that's upsetting. I was hoping he was gonna have more unique dialogue. Damn, I was hoping for some Stormbringer words, but no, he just kinda said the default thing that loads of them say. Well, there we go. Thank you very much for your submission. If you guys want to be rated, then leave a comment. I think it's definitely important to say why I should raid your fortress, like what kind of cool forts do you have? Also, I will be posting some Xbox videos very, very soon named The Hunt for Baga. It's going to be a pretty fun series, and once that is over, I will be raiding your Xbox forts. Remember guys, you can follow this QR code or use the link in my description to download Marvel Contest of Champions right now. If you do this, you will get the Heavy Hitters package, which includes 10 unique champions. And it very much helps and supports my channel. Cheers lads.